Bwana Rais, let's say, again, do some comparisons here. Let's say, again, do some comparisons here. I mean, the Deputy President before the world made statements that are transparently untrue and deeply misleading, especially on what they found in the country's coffers. Because the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics says 3.02 trillion was at the government's disposal when they came to power. He stood before the world and told them that we're inheriting empty coffers. And also statements that he made, which you said are against the Constitution, including the shareholding, a statement that he held and close to his heart, despite the Constitution establishing Kenya as a secular and a constitutional democracy. But let me list you some 7 itemized issues that are of relevance to the Kenyan people. In the just ended financial year, some 3 months ago, the government, Kenya Kwanza administration, spent 6 billion more in travels alone. 132 Kenyans are missing, given the statement by the Interior CS Professor Theuri when he appeared before the National Assembly last week. 40 Kenyans, more than 40 Kenyans were killed during the Gen Z-led demonstrations. The edible oil scandals, billions of shillings wasted. The fake fertilizer subsidy, farmers who have been duped. Yesterday, there was the rollout of the Social Health Authority, a new healthcare scheme, and patients were called that NHIF will no longer be accepted for those who are undergoing chemotherapy and dialysis. The absorption this morning of 46,000 intern teachers and their reapplication directive given by the Teacher Service Commission. Why do you think Parliament is dead against these very important issues and focusing on Rigathi Gachagua? If put vis-a-vis, here these issues outweigh Rigathi Gachagua despite his shortcomings and some border on constitutionality.
Ayub, that is precisely the point. The issue is that the country appears to be headed in the wrong direction. And Parliament has abdicated its responsibility to the Kenyan people. I saw one of the grounds with regards to devolution, saying that the Deputy President has, undermined the devolution. But let's look at it. I think this is probably the first time in history where at the end of the financial year, the county governments had not been given what is due to them. And that situation continues to date. So that in terms of the share of revenue that they are entitled, constitutionally entitled to, they have not received it. I say this because of the contradiction. And the contradiction are some of those facts that you have raised here. So that you have all these challenges. And remember, the fake fertilizer went into Parliament.
And the CS was saved.
And the CS was cleared. The issue of SHA went into Parliament, and Parliament said there's no problem with it. But you look at where was the problem. Is the problem the administrative part of it in terms of NHIF, SHA, or whatever? Or is the problem the fact that our hospitals are constrained because they do not have facilities, infrastructure, and personnel? Remember that a few months ago, doctors and intern doctors were being beaten on the streets because they were saying that, we have an MOU, we have a return to work formula, that you are supposed to employ this number of interns and doctors. So that's where the problem is. Now, you come to teachers. You have all these teachers who had been promised they would be absorbed, and then another shocker for them. There's this problem. Before we even finish that, you have a problem with the university funding model. Yeah? Students up to now, I have reported, no one knows exactly what they are supposed to pay. There is a lot of confusion, and of course now we have another body to, again, a committee to look into that model again. You come to the question of the missing Kenyans and the abductions that continue to be carried. So this number of missing Kenyans will continue to increase. What does the CS of security tell us? That they don't even know where these people are. Remember the case of the Kitengela 3?
Yes.
When the IG was now staring at going into prison, the 3 were released. And when they were released, they were in police custody. So we all know that the missing Kenyans are being held by police or by agents of police or a ragtag unit that is operating in this country. Because when you listen to the CS of Interior, he says that yes, protesters were killed, but they may not have been killed by police. So who else owns guns unless there is another gang that is operating alongside the police that is doing the killings and that is doing the abductions? So you have all these challenges. You look at the 6 billion you are saying, more that has been spent on travel. Would this money have been spent elsewhere? Now, because of all these challenges, and because of all this, and remember one thing, that this government, and I say this government in terms of at the top, has never suffered any failure in anything. The first failure they suffered was the failure of the Gen Z by the rejection of the finance bill. So everyone is angry and is looking for someone to take the blame. Remember, at one point it was Ford Foundation. At another point it was so-and-so who are funding. So we've been looking for a fall guy, for someone to take the blame for all the challenges that we are having in this country. And that person now appears to be the Deputy President. So my concern would be, even as because there will be a process of public participation, I would want to see Kenyans coming out to say that the thing that is important to them is to address the challenges that they are facing as of now, the economic challenges that they are facing. And 2, for Parliament to really look into itself and ask themselves, are they serving the interest of the country? One, by prosecuting this impeachment motion. Do they have the moral authority to actually do that, in view of the fact that there are even bigger and greater concerns that are facing this country that have not been addressed? So we have to begin focusing on the things that are important to this country. And then finally, the president also really might need to reflect on this, to ask himself, how does it reflect on him as a person when he had 5 years of a very difficult relationship with President Uhuru Kenyatta, when perhaps an attempt to, using the same grounds that have been given for Rigathi Gachagua, would have been made against him, but it was not made. The president then, sustained that relationship, a fractured relationship, a non-existent relationship. What does it say about him? And remember that Rigathi Gachagua was his preferred choice.
Not those of the people who voted.
Not of the people who voted, was his preferred choice. So you get the feeling that the president is beginning to say, I made you. I put you into this office. And since you are not following my instructions, I'm going to remove you. And then put somebody in. So the next person who comes in, our first question and our concern would be, would that person be coming to serve the country or would be coming to serve the president?